Hello everyone, and a very good morning. Thank you for joining us today. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you for joining us again on another episode of our exclusive webinar series organized by the Marketing and Recruitment Center, Universiti Malaya. Okay, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Irshad Zaini. I'm the Marketing and Recruitment Executive in charge of the marketing activities and promotion of our academic programs, both at local and international level, with specialization of event management, and I'll be your moderator for today. Okay, before we start our session, let us go through some of the housekeeping announcements so that we can have a seamless session. Firstly, please mute your microphone and please do not click any button, okay, before, during the webinar session is being conducted, as this session will be recorded. Therefore, we seek for your kind assistance. Secondly, today's webinar will be divided into two main segments. The first part will be the introductory session, which will be conducted by our guest speaker. And the second session will be the Q&A session, which will be moderated by me. Okay, kindly note that audience is encouraged to ask questions related to today's topic through the Q&A button down below. You can see down there, there's a Q&A button. Okay, and I'll be reading your questions accordingly depending on the remaining times that we have for today's webinar. Okay, last but not least, we really appreciate it if you could share with us the feedback of today's webinar through our feedback form that will pop out right after this session ends, so that we can further he is Dr. Muhammad Ismath Ramzy, or commonly known as Dr. Ramzy. He is a senior lecturer at the Department of Educational Foundation and Humanities Faculty of Education, Universiti Malaya. He completed his PhD in Comparative Religion at International Islamic University Malaysia, and he studied the legacy of Venerable Professor Wapola Rahula Triya of Sri Lanka for the Buddhist-Muslim coexistence for his PhD, and he completed his Masters of Arts in Comparative Religion and studied Shaivism of Hinduism in 2005. And upon his graduation with PhD, Dr. Ramzy joined Universiti Malaya as a postdoctoral research fellow in October 2012 in the Center for Civilization Dialogue, University of Malaya. And he was promoted to research fellow in 2013 based on his exemplary performance. And in 2015, Dr. Ramzy joined the Faculty of Education, based on his merits because of his research and publication. And he actively involves in peace education and religious dialogue, mainly for Buddhists and Muslim. His interest includes intercultural education, multiculturalism, sociology of education, diversity, and social cohesion. And he is also involved in researches like social cohesion through tertiary education, effective teaching and learning in Malaysian primary schools, and towards progressive society, capacity for peace, and interfaith dialogue between Muslim and Buddhists. He has also publishes more than 34 research papers in international review journals, including ISI and Scopus Index, journal in a wide range of topics related from social harmony, interfaith initiative, diversity to education. He has also contributed 7 entries in the Encyclopedia of India Religions. His recent publication includes effectiveness of teachers' attitudes and behaviors in enhancing classroom learning environment, in effective teaching learning environment in Malaysia primary schools, and also understanding the other Buddhist Islamic dialogue for peace, with particular reference to moderation, woman quasi in a minority context, an overview of Sri Lanka experience, managing domestic violence, Islamic religious perspective, and assessment of teaching and learning methodology in Islamic studies, and managing the cultural diversity in Sri Lanka, social cohesion through education, among others. And he was also invited as a keynote speaker and as a guest speaker by many universities, including Colombo University, University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka, University of Jayawardenapura, Sri Lanka, Buddhist and Pali University, Sri Lanka, Southeastern University, Sri Lanka, Islamic University of Maldives, the Markfield Institute of Higher Learning, United Kingdom, and he has presented his research paper for more than 38 international conferences worldwide, including Australia, United Kingdom, South Korea, Qatar, Turkey, Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh, just to name a few. Okay, Dr. Ramzy is not only a researcher, he's also a peace activist. He's involved in organizing interfaith initiative at the Center for Civilization Dialogue at the University of Malaya, and also participated in programs conducted by the UNESCO Club in various youth interfaith program. Okay, without any further delay, it is with great honor to have him on board with us today to share his vast experience as a senior lecturer at the Department of Educational Foundation and Humanities, Faculty of Education. And now, let us together dig deeper into things that you need to know when writing a research proposal, especially for social sciences and religious studies. Without any further delay, please welcome Dr. Ramzy to continue our session.
Using me and organizing this webinar. I also would like to thank the audience to participate in this webinar. In this webinar, we will discuss about what is social research and its objectives, overall idea about research proposal for academic purpose, mainly what is the research gap and how novel researchers can identify the research gap when they are preparing the research proposal. Today we are going to discuss about the proposal, how to do a research proposal, and especially the things you need to know when writing a research proposal. This is what we are going to discuss in this webinar. Let me introduce something about the research in social science. Research in systematic and critical investigation is to a phenomena is called a research. It directs towards finding an answer. It directs towards finding an answer to the question and solution to the problem. For instance, why does a student score less marks in exam although he or she is interested to learn mathematics? It's a research question. It's a research. And why some people are fighting in the name of religion while all religions promote peace and harmony. So these are some of the examples for social research. And the objective of social research, there are two main objectives of social research: to find out an explanation to unexplained phenomena or under-explain. Another one, to find solution to problems, the social problem. These are the main objective of social research. So in the social research process, a person finds a phenomena and observe again and again this phenomena in order to identify the gap. So after finding the gap, a researcher can collect the data to analyze the further of the research gap to come to the solution. This is the normal process of research in social science. How to think about a research? Usually this is the main problem among the novel researcher or the students. So I have given you some idea how we can start to think about the research. Mainly observing a phenomena critically. It is a one important aspect how we can start a research. Discuss an incident or phenomena with the different level of people. So the different level of people can give you some idea and explanation about the phenomena. It will spark a gap for your research. Critical reading of a paper or the book also is an idea to have a research topic and discuss a topic with your peers. So because the peers can help you much in finding a research gap, and discuss a topic with your supervisor or the research guide. Remember, always everyone is regarded in this research process. Even a child can help you to think about a research. So, for example, how we can observe a phenomena. Remember always, social research data need to be understood in a context, because the social research data is coming with the different contexts: cultural context, time, age, place, technology. These are the context of social research data. Based on this data, when the data, the context change, again, the data need to be reinvestigated. So the thinking of the data in different contexts can lead you to do a research. For example, the perception of people on vaccination in Malaysia might be different from the perception of vaccination in Pakistan. So a critical view on studies on vaccination can lead to a research. So when you are thinking about the research proposal, I'm only focusing in this session about the academic research proposal. So when we are thinking about the research proposal, we have some structure in all the main features of the research proposal, mainly the introduction, background of the study, research gap, rationale of the study, problem statement, objective of the study, research questions, research hypothesis. If you are if you are doing this research from the quantitative perspective, and also theoretical and conceptual framework, a research methodology, limitation of the study, operational definition, conclusion, and references. These are the main features of a research proposal for the academic purpose. So let me talk about a little bit about the explanation of these features very briefly. The first, when we are coming to the first one, the introduction. Usually, in the introduction, only contain the preliminary information about the research or the thesis topic. So we can say it is simply an overview of a research. The background of a study. This is the second feature of the research proposal. It is a part of a research that combines the adequate information related to a problem or the proposed argument and the analysis. In other way, the background of a study will show the way of arriving the research gap. Usually in PhD research proposals, it is known as literature review. The literature review in thesis or the background of study in research paper usually ends with research gap. So it means the background of study will give you a brief idea how the researcher arrived a research gap. So this is the main purpose of the research, background of a study or the literature review. So what is the difference between the background of study and the introductions? Introduction usually introduce a topic or contain preliminary information about a research or the thesis. It is simply an overview of the research. Whereas the background of study is about in-depth information and explain what is your research gap and why your research is more important and the worth. It explains the context of your research and the research focus. So the context of your research and as well as focus of your study cannot be explained without the relevant and essential previous studies, or we call the literature review. So research gap. So it is the area that has not been explored or is underexplored. This is we call the research gap. So another way we can say this is missing piece or the pieces in a theme or the topic. For the purpose of this research, this webinar, I did a survey among eight PhD students from different universities in Malaysia on the issues and challenges they face when they prepare research proposal. Some of these students have already submitted their thesis for Viva. Some others have finished their proposal defense and working for data collection. According to this survey, almost all these students face issues in finding a proper theoretical and conceptual framework. Almost, it was 100%. And 60.5% of the students found the difficulty in determining the research gap and writing the problem statement. In 37.5% of the students had issues in writing research question and research objectives, while the same amount of them faced challenges in finding the proper literature or reading the literature, these literatures. Therefore, theoretical and conceptual framework and research gap are the major issues in preparing a research proposal. Since theoretical and conceptual framework mainly depend on research gap, I would like to spend a few minutes on giving some tips to find a proper research gap. For the first one, read book, an article on a topic that you would like the most. So that you have to ask question everything. So for example, you can ask question when you are reading a literature or a book, what is the significance of this research? How can this research help me to formulate my research questions? Does the author argument require more clarifications? What issues or the question has the author not yet addressed? Is there a different perspective that I can consider? What other factors could have influenced the results? So these are some of the questions you can ask when you are reading a research proposal or the research paper. Second, make a note of all queries. Make note all the questions that across your mind while reading a literature. So you can use tables, chart, pictures, or tools to maintain a record. So because this record can help you in long run when you are developing your idea into a research problem. So this can help you to have a systematic thinking. And the third, use digital tools to seek out popular topics or most cited research papers. So, for example, you have websites like Essential Science Indicator or the Google Trend or the Scopus, or these are some of the websites you can help you to pop up some of the research idea. And fourth, you can approach your advisor, research advisor, discuss your interested topic or interested in an issue and or problem with your field, with your research advisor. This can generate ideas for your research. And the second, the research problem. A graduate students or the novel researcher would better to choose a problem that is easy to solve. So any success or any positive feedback from your supervisor or your colleagues or your peers would boost the confidence in the research. Commonly the students do the mistake. choosing the first problem that come to the mind without checking the literature, choosing controversial issues, or they're trying to solve many issues in a research. These are some of the common mistakes students do when you are preparing the research proposal. Research question. Choose a research question that you like more, interested in helping to solve your motivation through your research. There are two important factors that should be considered while arriving a research question. The first one is feasibility and the second one interest. Feasibility is determining the skill of the researcher, whether the researcher have the skill to do this research or the proper knowledge to using some softwares for this research. Or these are the some skills. And also available technology. Although some students want to do some research, if the university or the institution doesn't have the technology, then they cannot perform. So you have to select the research question based on the feasibility. And the second, the research question that are easy but not too interesting. It also should be avoided. So these are the main, I think, novel researcher or the student have to consider when they are preparing a research proposal. And the theoretical framework, a general representation of the relationship between things or the variables in a given phenomena is called as a theoretical framework. You can review a number of theories related to your topic. These should constitute their assumptions, strength, limitation, or the criticism, application in the previous studies, and applicability to your study. So this is such a difficult part in religious studies. Since the religious principles are already determined, researchers in religious studies need searching for theory that can help to apply religious principles. So many of the research papers in the religious studies will not be published because these papers do not sometimes have a proper theoretical framework. So the theoretical framework is much important for the research proposal and as well as the research proposal for the academic purpose. How we can understand whether a theory or the framework is suitable for my research? They must be logically consistent. And also, the second, there must be an interrelated between the variables. So the proposition should be mutually exclusive. And also, finally, they must be capable of being tested through a research. So these are the main criteria when we are choosing a research theory to have the research theoretical framework and the conceptual framework. The conceptual framework is a researcher's idea on how the research problem will have to be explored. After choosing a research theory, the researcher has to understand and explain how this research theory can be applied in my particular research. So this is we call the conceptual framework. There are many research methodologies, maybe the qualitative, the quantitative, and something maybe the mixed method. So these are the main area when we are preparing, when we have to consider when we are preparing a research proposal. So there are in the many qualitative research methodologies, and also there are many quantitative research methodologies. So which one is better or which one is more applicable, it is depend on the research proposal and the research idea and the research applications. So based on the research proposal or the research idea, a student can select whether this research can be studied from the qualitative research method or the quantitative research method or the mixed mode. So the limit of your research idea, always the researcher has to limit their study. Maybe during the literature review, a student or the researcher can have many ideas and many focus, can discuss many aspects. So, however, all these aspects cannot be treated in a research. Therefore, researchers should limit the limitation of or limit the study or the focus of the study or the method of the study. So then it will be a proper research proposal. In fact, in the research proposal, the conclusion part also very important. The conclusion part is not merely a summary of your point or the restatement of your research problem. Rather, it is a synthesis of key points. It is to help the reader to understand why your research should be matter to them, why it is significant to them. Finally, references. There are many styles of references. So you have to list out the references because these references will tell the reader that the researcher can do this research or not, whether they have enough references or enough literature to do the research. So the references also much important when preparing a research proposal. So with this, I would like to end this my presentation, and I guess we can go for Q&A. So thank you for Brother Irshad and the organizers, especially the Marketing and the Recruitment Office. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ramzy. Okay, we have got quite a few questions coming in at the moment. Once again, we'd like to say thank you for your wonderful presentation, and it was indeed a fruitful one. Okay, now I will proceed to the Q&A session, and we've got quite a number of inquiries from the audience, and in the interest of time, for those questions that are not being able to be answered today, you can always engage with us through our official email, study@um.edu.my. I repeat, you can engage with us through our official email through study@um.edu.my. Okay, Doctor, the first question would be, how important it is a research proposal for a student journey, especially for postgraduate studies? Okay, will it affect the direction and the outcome of the research itself?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Actually, why it is important to start a research. Why research proposal is important to do a research, especially in academic the exercise. Because it's like, the research proposal is like a plan. So before we are building a house or any other the platform, then we just plan first. Okay, where the column should be, and what's the strength of this building, and how many years it should be stand. These are some issues we are coming to the mind before we are building any house or something. So the research proposal is exactly like a plan. So we are from the research proposal, the student can plan what's the throughout the year in a limited period can do for a research. So then in that, with the plan, research advisor or the supervisor can guide the students in a proper way, and sometimes if they need help, they can help them. So the research proposal is like the plan. And if we explain a little bit more, when we are planning a trip or somewhere, so we call, okay, we are planning a family trip somewhere. So before we are going to this the trip, we have an abstract idea and put it in a paper, and where to go and what to do and how many days we are going to stay in somewhere, and what's the vehicle we are going to use, and where we can have the food, or these are the preliminary ideas and the plan. So then only we can successfully complete our mission. Otherwise, if you don't have any proper idea and a plan, then in the middle of the way, we may say, okay, this trip we cannot further go on. So because there is no road to go there. So otherwise, this vehicle cannot go for long. So because the fuel is not enough, or the tire is not, in a good conditions. So these are the issues we will face when we are going for a trip without preparation. So we can, if we have a plan on how many days we are going to stay in somewhere and how we are going to have the food, and these are some plan, this will definitely help, and also will help to successfully complete the mission. So the research proposal are the same. It is a 3 years or more than 3 years journey. So this journey cannot be planned without a proper preparations. So this is, the basic idea about why the proposal is important.
Okay, doctor, thank you so much for the very good answer. Okay, this one is a very technical question, I guess. A question for Li Ling Xiu, asking, is theoretical framework different from conceptual framework? Would you mind describing or explaining what are the major differences between these both?
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much again for the question. Actually, theoretical framework is a study of the theory related to a topic. So the topic can be treated from different perspectives and different methodologies. So a student in the beginning try to understand what kind of the theories they can what are the theories have in the different topic, and whether the previous researchers and the investigators have used theories, and how they converted the theories into their own the research, particularly the research, the theories from the other disciplines. That usually in the social research, we adopt some theories from the psychology or from the medical theories, and also some other natural theories. So when we are adopting these theories, and then we are trying to understand how these theories has been applied in the social research in the previous research and as well as previous researchers. So this will give an idea how my research can adopt this theory into my research. So this is the theoretical framework. So usually the theoretical framework comes with the literature review. So usually the literature review, the student have to do the research review for two purposes. The one is to identify the research gap. Another one to identify the proper research theory to apply in my research. So this is the theoretical framework. The conceptual framework, although I have studied some research theories. So among these theories, a student or the researcher have to select one or two theories out of these all the existing theories related to a topic. So after adopting this theory, one or two theories, the researcher has to explain how this theory can be applied in my particular research. This is the researcher own idea about the implementation of this research this is theory. So this is we call the conceptual framework. I guess this is enough. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ramzy. Okay, this is on the bigger picture of the research itself. Is the core element of a research proposal is fixed and static, and can it be changed towards the end, or can the direction of the research proposal change toward the ends of the research itself, not depending entirely on the research proposal that has been being done in the early stage?
Yeah, okay, all right. Research proposal is a basic an idea as a plan, as we discussed before. So the basic plan, the some of the elements can be changed later. Even the students or the researcher, when they are doing research, then only they can understand some of the features they discuss in the proposal is not relevant, or some of the question already written might not be relevant for the proper research. So in that particular context, a researcher can change some of the elements, particularly research question, the objective of the research, and the references, and as well as even the some of the conceptual framework. They can change later, but this is actually throughout the research is modified. That's what in Universiti Malaya usually we have a proposal defense, where in the proposal defense students are requested to submit the research proposal, and then we call the candidate research. In the candidate research, these are all any changes or any adding or the editing can be discussed in the candidate defense. So this is why in Universiti Malaya we have 2 steps for the research before the final submission. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ramzy. Okay, I think the next question, I think this question has been haunting our researchers for quite some time now. How do we actually decide on the type of, we can say we have qualitative, we have quantitative, and mixed mode. How do we decide on which one is the right mode of research, Doctor?
Yeah, thank you. So I think because of the timing, I skipped some of the slides actually. So I think I can go to the slides to explain this area. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So sorry.
Okay, it's okay. We hope everyone can wait a little while because we are still figuring out the slides.
All right. Okay. Right. 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 Okay. Can see it? Can see the screen?
Yes, Doctor. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, the researcher, based on the research idea, researcher can select whether it is qualitative research or the quantitative research. For example, the common purpose. What is the purpose of this research? If the purpose of the research is discovering an idea or discovering a theory or discovering principles, then the general research objective, these are the main, then the researcher have to select the qualitative research. So this is the common purpose of the purpose of the research. If the researcher want to test an hypothesis or the specific research question, then the researcher have to select the quantitative research. But, and also, in the qualitative research and the quantitative research approach are much more different. So the qualitative research, the approach is usually observe, collecting the data and interpreting the data. Whereas approach in the quantitative research, measure and test. So in a sense, you know, if you want to understand a prevalence of the or something somewhere, or how whether it is important or not, then the researcher has to select the quantitative research. For instance, how many percent of the Malaysian like McDonald's? So if somebody want to test this measurement or in the quantitatively, so if the researcher want to say, okay, 5% of them or the 10% of them like the McDonald's, if they want to test this one, and then they have to select the quantitative research. So they usually the quantitative research can give you an idea of the prevalence of the something with the percentage. However, if they want to know exact reason why some part of the world like McDonald's, some other are not, then have to go for a deep research. That's we call the qualitative research. So this is one, you know, you have to live with people, and you have to mingle with people, and then identify their main reason why they are selecting some sort of food, and they are not like other food. All these things can be identified through the qualitative research. So because in the next slide we have the qualitative research. There are many types actually. This one. So we call the ethnography research, or the phenomenological research, or grounded theory research, narrative research, case studies. All this research and method can help to understand the deep reasons of the problem. And then data collection approach also different from quantitative to qualitative. So the quantitative research usually use structured question and the responses category provided. However, the qualitative research usually unstructured. It is structured, but it's not, you know, exactly like the quantitative research structure. So this allow the qualitative research allow the pop-up questions, right? And then the respondents, the researchers' independence also one of the important aspect where the students have to, where student wanted to select the research methodology, is qualitative or quantitative. Particularly, the researcher in the qualitative research are usually uninvolved. The result will not have an impact of the researcher's personality. However, in the qualitative research, researcher is important, and the researcher's ideas and background and as well as knowledge will reflect in interpreting the research data. So this is another example. There's a sample for also in the quantitative research. The quantitative research use the large sample to understand a phenomena, whereas the qualitative research use a simple and also the selected the sample. So this is an idea about the qualitative and quantitative research where the researcher can use. So based on the research, with what type of research, and what is the objective of the research, what is the outcome a researcher wanted, based on the researcher can select the qualitative research or the quantitative research. However, both research are important. So because sometimes the researcher can think, okay, the qualitative research is more important than the quantitative research. Some other people say, oh no, quantitative research is more important than the qualitative research. No, actually both are both have the strength and weakness, and both have the significance. So the researcher's ability and the researcher's quality will not be evaluated based on whether the person has done the qualitative research or the quantitative research. Right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. Uh, just another question that I think it is quite significant. Throughout the research proposal itself, Doctor, we have quite few elements, you know, starting from introduction, literature review, so on and so forth. So in writing a good research proposal, in which part do we actually put more weight on so that we can make our research proposal stand out, so that when once our supervisor read it and said, oh, this is a good research, um, would you want, care to respond to this?
Yeah, okay. So based on the survey again, the survey also, they say the much more important aspect in the research is a research gap. Identifying the research gaps is more important in a research proposal, because without identifying the research gap, any research proposal cannot go further. Although the introduction is good, and also literature reviews, of course, if the literature review is good, then definitely the researcher will have the good research gap. So so I can say the research, identifying the research gap is much more important than else. So the other part, introduction and the and other part actually is helping to solve the issue. So that we say, you know, usually the people say identifying the problem is the 50% of the solution. So 50% of the solution means, you know, identifying the gap. So the gap, identifying the gap is very important, but identifying the gap usually will not possible without proper critical reading of a research papers. So because many students coming to us asking the some help, particularly to help into the identifying the research problem and the formulating the research question. Actually, when you are reading these their ideas and their problem and the challenges, we can say they have the problem in reading the literature review, because literature, when we are reading a literature, I mean the previous research ideas, or maybe research publications, the previous publication researcher have usually discussed the theme and as well as what they are going to do. So if a student properly read this research and research publication, then they can properly understand what is the gap. So it no matter how many papers you are reading, rather how you are reading is much more important. So maybe you can spend a few days on a research paper to understand the properly and critically asking question. Why, as I mentioned in the presentation, why this research is important for me, how this research can help me to identify my gap. So, and also in the particular area or the particular topic, whether the researchers have done already, or it is a novel research. These are some of the question the researcher can pop up when reading published research. So my point is, research gap is the main topic, main feature in a research proposal, and the research gap cannot be understood, okay, without a critical reading of the previous research studies.
Okay, thank you. Speaking of research gap, we have one question from our social media, from our Facebook. It mentioned here, although it is always emphasized to, find research gap or come up with new unexplored area, but at the end of the day, the supervisor would demand, to show us your literature review. Then how do we actually fix this?
Again, I couldn't get the question, please. Once again.
Okay, I repeat. Okay, it is always emphasized for us to actually to look into the research gap and to come up with the new unexplored area that, as you presented earlier. But at the end of the day, supervisor will always demand, to always probably like show some proof that literature review or reading that you have done to actually, support whatever things that you're actually doing at the moment.
Yeah, that's one. So again, the literature review, when a student arriving the research gap, it is through the literature review. So the literature review, if the student can show the part how the student can achieve this research gap through the literature, definitely I think no supervisor will have the different idea, because the evidence they need means the literature they need. Of course, the student can claim all the even when we are stating a research, we can say, oh, nobody have done this research. So I am the first person doing this research. It's not really, because the is every day in many universities research are going on, and also people are doing research. So before claiming, we call it claiming the research gap. This research gap done did not have touched by anyone else yet. So for this purpose, either researcher have to show this is the path I have came across throughout my literature review, or can show that the previous researcher have shown that this research area did not explore yet. So in that, we have to see again the year of the researcher. So usually we have to consider 5 years back of the research. In medical, in some other, the IT may be less than that. But in the social research, usually we have to limit 5 years. Within the 5 years period, research should be explored. So within these 5 years, for example, we say we are now in the 2020. If somebody in the previous research has say that this area did not explore yet, and then it means we have more opportunity to do this research, and maybe somebody has taken. So this one has to be again have to take some questions to deciding this factor, this gap. So of course the researcher, the supervisor or the research guider definitely will ask evidence. And if we have done through the literature review, definitely we can show.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. It was really good explanation, and now I've made clear of the question itself. Now, the next question is, we have been bombarded by a lot of questions, Doctor. We have quite a lot at the moment, and I think this one question is one of the significant question that we can answer. He asked, how can we make sure that the theory, the framework of our research is suitable and practical enough for the problem that we are actually trying to engage, that we're trying to address. And because usually the idea will come first and the framework and the theory will come afterwards. So how do we actually merge this into making a good research proposal?
Yeah, okay. I would like to go my slides again because in my slides I have discussed this one very briefly again. Yeah, yes. Uh, yes, this part. Okay, so oh, all right. So the good theory, this must be logically consistent. So when we are taking research theory from the previous studies to my research, it should be logically consistent with my topic and as well as my research gap. This is very important. And the second, this must when we are doing a research, we have the independent variables and the dependent variables. So the independent variables and independent variables between these elements of the research theory should be interrelated, should have a connections. So this is what we call this if you are looking for a theory for the quantitative research, definitely this relation is a very important, and we are going to test these relations. So this is interrelated, and the proposition should be mutually exclusive. This means each elements in the research theory should be excluded. We cannot include the one into the another. So it should be explained exclusively. And the third one, and the fourth one, it must be capable of being tested through research. So we can adopt a theory, but it cannot be tested in my research. So, and then it's not a theory. So it's not comfortable for my research. So these are the main the criteria to understand whether a theory is good for my research or not. In reference to the qualitative research, qualitative research also have theories. Usually, we in qualitative research we adopt theories from the psychology and even some other sociological theories. So in these theories, in these theories also, the elements should be consistent, logically consistent, and also should be interrelated again. And the elements in the theory should be the logically can be explained and also exclusively interrelated. So this is the exclusive, mutually exclusive aspect in the qualitative research. So, and also again, it should be tested because there are some, the people are good enough to find out a theory, but they don't know how they can implement this theory into the particular research. So actually, this is what we have to understand from the literature review on theoretical framework, because from the previous research, we are trying to understand how this theory has been implemented in a research. So when we are reading a research publications, particularly for the theoretical, understand the theoretical framework, and then the implement part, how this research has been implemented in a particular research is also to understand and also to conceive. Then only we know how we can implement this particular theory into our particular research. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. I think this question, another question, we're going to take a few more questions before we end our webinar for today. And I think this question is quite interesting, Doctor. The question sounds like this: what should one do if the desired research proposal is rejected by the university? Meaning to say that we have come up with an idea that's very interesting, that I wanted to do this research because, oh, I'm really into this, but then it got rejected by the university. And how to motivate oneself to do a research probably proposed by the
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So thank you very much again for the question. So this is something practical questions again. Um, well, once the proposal is rejected by the university or by the department or by any other faculty, it doesn't mean that this proposal is not good or that this proposal is something it's nothing important. It is important. It may reasons. The one, when a student apply for a university and then with a proposal, this particular department or the particular faculty might not have a research advisor or the supervisor to supervise this, this proposal. This might be one reason why the student can be rejected although the proposal is very sound. So this might be one reason. Another reason, maybe this proposal is good and there are supervisors, but the supervisors are not ready to take a type of method. I mean, maybe that they are not only interested in the quantitative method. No, they are not interested in the qualitative method. So in that particular condition also, university or the faculty or the department can reject one's proposal. So, and also sometimes although the student can see that my research proposal is very good, however, in practically, when you are reading, this proposal is not properly identify the research gap, not mention not particularly have the research problem or the research question. This also might be another reason why research proposal might be rejected by the university or by the department or the faculty. So it means this either the research proposal itself has some weakness, or sometimes the institution, particular institution, do not have the proper resource to supervise this research. So this might be a different purpose, and also maybe sometime because of the placement, even though my research is good and also the faculty has supervisors, but there are maybe too many applications. So, and that also can be another reason why the research proposal can be rejected.
Yes, yes. I think it's probably the same with Universiti Malaya, because we receive quite a numbers of application every year, and we have to actually, vet through all the research proposal application being sent to our universities. Okay, now, Doctor, I think once we have covered everything, this is one of the questions that I think it's really important for you to answer today. How would you advise like your postgraduate students in answering questions related to reliability and the validity of the research findings itself? I think because it's really important, because at the end of the day, we would like to have a research that we can actually look into that could actually impact it could be the society, it could be the nation, and it could be anything that it's working towards.
Yeah, okay. Regarding the validity of the research, and the research finding, there are many ways actually. For the qualitative or the quantitative research, sometimes they use expert opinion. So the expert opinion is one of the aspect how they can validate this research finding. So this is we call in research, we call the triangulation. triangulation aspect in a research, which can validate the data and as well as the findings. So the validation based on actually in the two ways, the validation of the data and also validation of the findings. So if the data is okay, and then in a quantitative research, usually triangulation aspect will be determined through the questionnaire, and before the issuing the questionnaire, the expert have to evaluate these questions and give their opinions and all, and there are many ways actually. So this is one aspect. And in the qualitative research, also expert opinion might be in different ways. For example, in maybe the expert can give an opinion whether it is this finding is in line with the theme, and also it is okay in one way. Another way, especially in the religious studies. The religious studies, usually this validation will be determined through the mainstream, the opinion of the mainstream religious leaders. So these are some of the idea how we can validate the research finding. Yeah.
Okay, doctor, thank you so much. And I think we have come to the final questions, and I would like to wrap up because we have vast, knowledge that we have received from you. So, doctor, in a brief explanation, what are the do's and what are the don'ts when it comes to writing a research proposal?
Yeah. Okay. When we are preparing research proposal, usually the students want to solve many problems. That is the main issue when we are preparing, when the students want to prepare the research proposal. Of course, in a society there might be many issues, but we have to be selective enough to understand proper question or the proper issue. This is the first thing. And the second thing, and also in the beginning, students, when they are preparing with the excitement of the research and the excitement of the PhD candidate, for example, they spend time on literature review, and also, of course, they will find sometimes the solution, the proper gap, and then sometimes they don't speak to it, they don't discuss this the idea with the peers, or fearing for hijacking the idea from by others sometimes. So I think these are some issues. They have to discuss with the peers and the other people, and then the idea when they are discussing this idea, they can have the proper perspective from others. That's also the thing we have to consider when we are preparing the research proposal. And as I mentioned in the presentations, the student have to choose a simple and very easy topic for the research, because it's like when you are doing a research in the beginning, okay, if you are selecting the easy topic and easy the research gap, then you can finish on time. So because otherwise you will be in difficult. It's like when you are driving a car, okay, when you are learning a driving, so which vehicle you are going to use, right? If a naval driver, if he or she take the lorry, the big lorry to learn, driving, definitely it's difficult for a the learner. So he or she has to take a light vehicles. So then he or she has to go in a learning the driving and the clutch balance, all these things, with the light vehicles. So when you are trained in the light vehicle, you later you can have you can drive the and we call the big and also maybe the heavy vehicles. So if you want to, although if you want to drive the buses, but still you have to learn from the car, light car. Then only you can easy to learn. So this is the same apply for the research. Take a simple and in the very easy topic and learn how to do a research, and then later you can go for other research.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Ramzy, for your sharing, for answering all the questions, and for entertaining our audience for today, for all the questions and whatnot. And for the interest of time, we have now come to the end of our webinar, and we have concluded our webinar series for today. And I would like to take this opportunity to express our utmost gratitude to our guest speaker, Dr. Ramzy, for his guidance and wisdom, as well as our audiences for spending your precious time with us. We hope to see you soon at UM. And if for those questions that are not being able to be answered today, you can always email to us through our official email at study@um.edu.my, and we will answer to your questions accordingly. And last but not least, don't forget to leave us your feedback of today's webinar. And we hope to see you again in the next episode, whereby we'll be sharing more on the programs, the academic programs, especially that we have in UM. And probably if you would like to have, topic that you would like for us to discuss more on, you can always leave your feedback through on our feedback form. Okay, and that is all for today. Thank you so much. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you. Goodbye, and see you again.
Thank you.